All right, everybody, get ready, because today we are diving headfirst into the fascinating world of dialectical materialism.
That's right. We're going deep on this one.
I know it might sound a little intimidating, but trust me, it's going to be a fascinating deep dive.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've got the source, dialectics.pdf, and it's going to help us break down these complex ideas in a way that's easy to understand. I mean, we're even going to be talking about trees and swords today, so buckle up.
What I find really interesting is how this source emphasizes the connection between dialectical materialism and actual science. Like
Yep.
we're talking about looking to the real world, not just some abstract theories.
Right, so we're talking about observable, analyzable stuff, the tangible things that make up our world. This isn't just some pie-in-the-sky philosophy, it's grounded in reality. Okay, before we get too far, we've got to address the elephant in the room.
Go on.
Marxism, right.
Ah, yes.
Whenever people hear dialectical materialism, they immediately think of Marxism, and I get it. But what we're doing today is bigger than that, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, think of it this way. While Marx definitely used dialectical materialism, it's not limited to one political ideology.
Exactly. It's a set of tools, a way of thinking that applies to so much more.
That's what we're here to explore today. We're unpacking the core principles, not getting caught up in any sort of debate.
Music to my ears. So let's dive right in. The first principle that our source tackles is the unity of opposites. I have to admit, it sounds a little bit like a superhero movie title.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's actually a lot simpler than it sounds. Think about it.
Yeah.
Everything has its opposite, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Light and dark, hot and cold. But the unity of opposites says that these opposites aren't just separate things. They're actually two sides of the same coin, completely intertwined. They define each other.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The source gives this really straightforward example using math. You can't have addition without subtraction, can you? They're two parts of the same whole.
Right. You need both to make sense of either one. But I'm guessing it goes beyond just math, right?
Exactly. Think about a tree for a second. It's a perfect example of the unity of opposites. You got the woody trunk, which seems very grounded.
Solid, strong.
Right. And then you've got the leafy branches reaching up, almost like they're trying to escape. These are opposites, but you can't have one without the other. They need each other to be a tree.
That's a great example.
Our source also talks about a sword. A sword has a sharp blade, which is obviously meant for what?
Attacking.
Exactly. But also has a sturdy handle, which is meant to protect the person using it. Again, opposites, but they have to exist together to make the object what it is.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get this whole unity of opposites thing.
Good.
But how does that actually lead to change? Like, where does the dialectical part come in?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And this is where it gets really interesting. So the source, it uses this example of two boxers, right? They're sparring, and obviously one boxer is going to have better technique, better strategy.
Wait, someone's got to come out on top.
Exactly. And that struggle, that competition, it forces the other boxer to adapt and improve if they want to keep up.
It's like that saying, iron sharpens iron. They're making each other better through their opposition.
That's a great way to put it. And this constant push and pull, this struggle between opposites, it's the engine of change, not just in boxing, but in everything.
So are you saying it's like a universal principle?
Absolutely. Think about it. Ideas evolve because people challenge each other, right? Technology improves because we keep pushing for something better, more efficient. It's this constant striving that drives progress. And this struggle eventually leads to what's called synthesis.
Synthesis. Okay, now you're just using big words to make me feel smarter.
Not at all. It's actually a simple concept. Remember those boxers we were talking
Uh-huh.
about? So they're duking it out, each trying to win. But in the process, they're also learning from each other, picking up new moves, new strategies.
Right, so it's not just about winning or losing.
Exactly. It's about creating something new. So through this struggle, through this back and forth, they might actually blend their styles and create a new, even better way of boxing. That's synthesis. A new state that emerges from the struggle between opposites.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm starting to see how this all connects. So we've got opposites battling it out, pushing each other to change and evolve. But there's more, right? There's that other principle, the quantities into qualities one.
You got it. And they're related, these principles.
Okay, because that one is a bit of a head scratcher for me.
I think a good example will make it crystal clear.
Hit me with it.
Okay, imagine a single grain of sand. It's tiny, insignificant, right?
Right, you wouldn't even notice it usually.
But now imagine billions upon billions of those grains of sand piled up together. What do you get?
A beach. I see where you're going with this.
Exactly. The grains of sand hasn't changed. They're still the same tiny grains, but the sheer quantity, The accumulation of all those individual grains, it creates a whole new quality.
Okay, that's a really clear example. I get it. It's not just about things changing, but about how we perceive them, how our understanding of them shifts with quantity. Like that one grain of sand versus a beach example, that's powerful.
It is, isn't it? And it's everywhere. The source, it talks about water.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking about water. It can be a gentle stream or it can be a raging ocean. Same stuff, different quantity, different impact.
Exactly. Or think about it this way. You add heat to water, what happens?
It boils.
Right, and it turns into steam. Take away enough heat, it freezes solid.
And it's still just water.
The H2O molecules are the same, but the quantity of heat, it dramatically changes their quality, their state of being.
That is such a clear example. I love it. Okay, I gotta ask. Are you saying that even time itself could be an example of this quantities into qualities principle?
Now you're getting it.
Because time is all about those small incremental changes, right? Seconds become minutes, minutes become hours, and so on. And those tiny changes, they add up to huge shifts over time. And this all ties back to matter, doesn't it?
You're on fire today. Time, at its core, is a measure of change. And all the matter in the universe, everything around us, is just quantities of particles interacting in endlessly fascinating ways.
I've always found that mind-blowing, that we're all just made up of these tiny particles.
Right, and it's the specific quantity of those particles, their arrangement, their movement, that determines what something is.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've got opposites duking it out. We've got quantities morphing into qualities. What's the third principle? I am so ready for my mind to be completely blown. All right, lay it on me. What's principle number 3?
You ready for it? It's the negation of the negation.
Okay, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. That one sounds a little intimidating.
I know. It sounds like we're getting super philosophical now.
Mm-hmm.
But bear with me. It's actually a lot more straightforward than it sounds.
All right, you've got my attention. I'm sensing a pattern here with these principles. Like, we're talking about things transforming into their opposites, but then becoming something new in the process.
You're picking up what we're putting down. It's not just a simple reversal, though. It's not a circle. Think of it more like a spiral.
Okay, a spiral. I like it. So it's like something is negated, its opposite comes into being, but then that gets negated too, right?
Exactly. But the new state, it's not just a carbon copy of the original. It incorporates elements of everything that came before it. It's built on the negation of the negation. It's like each twist of the spiral brings something new.
Okay, I think I get the concept, but could you give me a real-world example?
Of course. Our source uses the example of human development. Like, think about how parents have children.
Okay, I'm with you.
Parents, in a way, negate themselves by having kids.
Because the kids are different.
Exactly. The children grow, they learn, they develop their own personalities, their own ideas. They might even surpass their parents in certain areas. It's the negation of the negation at work.
Wow, I've never thought about it like that, but that's a really interesting way to look at it. So it's not just about things going back to how they were before. It's about them always evolving, always moving forward.
You got it. And, we see this principle playing out in broader ways, too, not just on a personal level.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, the source talks about economic systems, for example.
Yeah.
You might have a simple communal society at first, right?
Right.
But as wealth grows and things change, it might shift to a system of private property. But then later on, that system could be negated as well, leading to a new form of communal ownership.
So it comes full circle, but on a different level.
Exactly. Each iteration incorporates the lessons learned from the previous systems. It's like history is rhyming, not repeating.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, we've covered so much ground today, from boxing to beaches to the evolution of societies, all in one deep dive.
I told you we go deep.
You weren't kidding. I feel like this episode has given me a whole new way of looking at the world. So to wrap things up, what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that change is constant, and it's happening everywhere, all the time. And dialectical materialism gives us these incredible tools for understanding how that change works, on a small scale and a large scale.
It's about seeing the interconnectedness of everything, right? The way things change and evolve through struggle and synthesis.
Absolutely. It's about understanding that progress isn't a straight line. It's this dynamic, spiraling process.
This has been an absolutely mind-blowing deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us and for breaking down these complex ideas in such a clear and engaging way.
The pleasure was all mine. Seriously, it's been a fantastic conversation.
And to our listeners, we hope you're feeling as energized as we are. So until next time, keep those brains buzzing and stay curious.